Hey guys, it's Erik Eldenius from Billy Idol's band, and we're here in Hollywood, Florida. I'm going to talk a little bit about my drums. All right, so we got the classic maple Ludwig drums here. Black, the 7 plies, 13, 16, 26, all traditional sizes, not the deep ones. And we got the 6.5 acrylite here. Really, really, really amazing snare drum. I mean, it has everything for this type of gig. All the crack, enough brightness, but fatness at the same time. And we got the Remo black dot head here on top. And the rest of the kit has clear emperors. We got some sandbags there just to, I don't know, for some reason, maybe it's the way I play or maybe the way the snare is angled. I always feel like if I don't have that thing weighed down, it always ends up coming towards me. I'm sure, a lot of other people have experienced the same thing. So, yeah, it's just to hold it in place really. All the hardware is the Ludwig Atlas. All the Sabian cymbals here are, let's see, the crashes are Paragons, 20-inch. We got a 24-inch bash ride. Because the ride is so big and heavy, it was a little difficult to sort of mount it the traditional way. So we went with the good old 80s rock and roll mounting way of doing it, which is obviously from the top down. So that's the story behind that. We got the 15-inch AX medium hats and the 21-inch Chad Smith China. Why do I use it? Well, I mean, it was one that wasn't too bright. It wasn't like ringing on forever. It's a pretty quick attack. The decay is not too long. And it kind of just gets in and out of the sonic picture. And yeah, we had a 19-inch at first, but that one ended up breaking a lot of the time, so we ended up getting a 21. And we do have a DW 9000 kick pedal sticks, Big Firth X55ML, I believe. I tend to hold my sticks pretty far back, so I drive Trevor, my drum tech, crazy with like, nope, we need to have the tape all the way down here and go all the way up there, because I don't know why, but I do kind of, my grip ends up changing quite a bit during the show. Like if I hit harder, obviously I'll end up holding it further back. And, for maybe more delicate songs, I end up holding it further up. So that's basically why.
Are you a hard hitter when you play?
For this gig, absolutely, yeah.
So that's what that has the weighted snare.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, again, back home at my studio, I do all kinds of stuff. So it's sometimes these sticks aren't even appropriate for that, since they're a bit longer and heavier. Oh yeah, this mic. So because I do a lot of studio work, I run a recording studio back home. The one thing that I always missed was when you mic everything so individually, it just felt like especially with in-ears, everything is just like all over the place. It never really felt like one unified drum kit. So I kind of used this 57 here, almost just like you would use a room mic in the studio. So it's going through a little bit of EQ and compression just to liven things up a bit, and it just makes it for a lot more of a musical mix in my ears when we play. All right, so we do have some Pro Tools tracks running, not a whole lot. So I just basically start and stop that, and this little metronome guys just for keeping my own anxiety in check. If I get too excited, maybe I'll start too fast, or the opposite. So yeah, we have I would say maybe 80% of the show is to some sort of click.
But it's in your ears, the click?
Yeah, exactly.
But you like to have that just to make yourself feel better. A little metronome then?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I mean, sometimes if I just want to count off a song, I'll, again, like I said, I'll be too excited, too much adrenaline, and I'll just start it too fast. I mean, sonically, obviously, the gear that I've chosen for and the way I tune these drums, it's definitely changed gradually. We've probably gone through 6 to 8 different snare drums since I started with Billy about 11 years ago. So we've, sort of found things along the way that are better suited for it. In terms of my playing style and all that stuff, doesn't really have so much to do with the gear itself, but just, musically, the way I had to, like before this, I'd never really done a gig that was this heavy hitting and driving in that sense. So I had to, a lot of time was spent, practicing and getting my stamina together for these types of tempos and stuff like that. Both Billy and Steve are very, very open-minded. So sometimes along the way, if I feel like, hey, we've been doing this song a certain way, what if we maybe change the groove a little bit here, or a lot of Billy's material is pretty classic in the sense that the old hits, they're played a certain way, and there is certainly no need to sort of reinvent the wheel when it comes to that. But there have definitely been songs along the way, especially during the rehearsals, where again they're so open-minded, so they might say like, hey, let's just let's try something different here. Steve might say that they want to change up the arrangement completely, and maybe that's an opportunity for me to work out like a new pattern. And they're all about like, hey, let's make this fun. Let's change things up so we don't like just get stuck in a routine. So,
does he ever throw changes out during the show? I mean, how does the show go? Is it pretty standard, or do you have to keep an eye and kind of?
I wouldn't say that there's a lot of spontaneous changes to the arrangement or anything like that during the show. No, sometimes Steve will kind of get all of our attention while we're playing and just like he'll signal that let's just do a break here and kind of just to mess with Billy, more than but no, and especially if you have some backing tracks running, drum loops and stuff like that, there are certain songs like Ice Without a Phase that have the hand claps and all that stuff. If you have a sort of dedicated beginning and an end to a song, obviously you can't really extend things. So there's not too much of that.
Any nightmare scenarios that have popped out on stage?
Oh my God. Yeah. Well, there's probably too many to mention for this interview, but yeah, we had one several years ago where I'm trying to think. Part of the bass drum pedal came undone completely. So I don't know if you can get in here to see, but I think it was this part underneath here that broke. Oh, no, sorry. It was this. This whole piece broke off. And so basically the pedal started going like this. Literally my drum tech was, as I was sitting here, he was laying underneath the seat like this, holding the plate in place and it was for Moni Moni, which is our longest song. So poor guy, he was a trooper. He held it down.
I'm sure you worked the floor tom the whole time for that one.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, before we could even figure out what was happening, I think I even went to like hit the kick drum with my stick, just to, obviously because the pedal was, I couldn't really use it for anything for a second there. But I think that may have been, technically the worst thing that's happened. We've had plenty of other old disasters, but yeah, that's for another time. All the gear, in terms of hardware, I just want it pretty much as simple and straight up as possible. As you can see, this is really the only boom that I'm using. Everything else is pretty straightforward, so I don't need like a million tricks or for it to be angled 1,000 different ways, because I wouldn't be able to utilize it anyways. So that I believe is a Sennheiser, and I think the pattern of this is a figure 8, so it's picking up from here and from there, so okay. That's why you don't have the diaphragm up here, but it's pointing directly down at an angle.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah, all these microphones I believe are Sennheisers. This is a Telefunken. It's kind of a rare bird to see on a snare drum like this, but it's really, really a wonderful microphone for the snare drum. It has a little bit more crisp and air than, let's say, a more traditional 57 or something that you would see at the top of the snare. And I believe the bottom mic is the same as this hi-hat guy here. Again, I'm not sure about the model number, but yeah, again, everything is pretty straightforward. Like the kit is very basic, Not too many tricks.
Have you always had a 3-piece kit like that? Or 4-piece kit?
Yeah, for this gig, yeah. And I would say pretty much most of the other gigs I've done this was like. I tend to go with bigger drums, and especially for this gig. So I kind of like to keep everything pretty low and straight. So I don't really have much more room for drums, even if I wanted to have some more. So,
how do you warm up for the shows, especially on this tour?
Well, it's with the good old trusted warm-up pad. You know, it's all very, very basic stuff. And then, you know, I'll do some stretching and jumping around and whatnot. There's nothing worse than if you're playing outside and it's cold and all that stuff, then you'll see me doing like jumping jacks or something, you know, backstage. But other than that, it's nothing too acrobatic.
What's the most beautiful part about your job? What do you enjoy the most?
I mean, it's just, I still have those moments just sitting up here during the show and just looking out, you know, my bandmates here and Billy, and just, you know, feeling incredibly lucky to be up on stage with Billy and Steve and everyone else, and just to play these songs. You know, these songs they're timeless, they're classic, and they're a lot of fun to play, and we have a lot of fun on stage, off stage too, obviously. But yeah, I mean, that's really the most beautiful thing about this job.
You got the best seat in the house, right?
I'd like to think so. Yeah.
Hey, what's up, guys? Trevor Matthias, Erik Eldenius' drum tech on the Billy Idol tour. And I just want to run through a quick little MacGyver thing that I did with the kick drum. We took the bass drum and we drilled 2 holes in for XLRs so we could mic the kick drum all internally. And we put a shoe system in, and the 91 lives on the bottom. So when we're wiring up the kit, it's a simple plug in, plug out type deal.
No matter what, you guys are a unit. You guys are a team.
That's
I've been
for
with
sure.
Erik for going on 10 years.
Now, did you guys meet through the Billy Idol gig?
We met through Billy Idol's management, and we,
You obviously get along.
yeah, I think so.
Most of the time.
I had an actual proper interview with Erik. So we met at the ramen house, I believe it was.
And when you guys, before you guys go out on a tour, you guys run through everything, set it up together, or Erik will say, hey, I want this tour. Or
Yeah, I would say at this point, it's kind of, it's pretty easy. I know what he's going for the most part. If he wants to make a change, you know, then we go over the changes. Over the years, he's gone through many different
Mainly
Heads.
snares,
heads
right?
and snares, and stick changes lately is what we've been doing. But I think we're set on the model he's using now, and we'll stick with that. They seem to hold out and not break.
I was
so much.
using maple sticks before, and I would break sometimes like, 15, 16 sticks per night. It's a bit of a waste. So we ended up going back to hickory sticks.
Yeah.
Nice. And those have held out for you for the most part.
Oh yeah.
He
Awesome.
was
So
averaging 6 to 7 pairs that he was breaking with the old model
A night.
a night. Yeah. So we were going through bricks of sticks,
Yeah.
and now we've shimmied down to a pair,
Nice.
2 pairs.
Awesome.
No break.
And what's the best part about your job? What do you enjoy the most?
Catering. If it's free, it's for me. I'll take 3.
Awesome.
No, the best part is that the camp, the Billy Idol camp in general, we all have worked and toured together around the world so many years. So literally it is family away from home. And it's just a good energy in this camp, and it's a lot of fun.
It's a nice thing to be close to everybody and be a family,
Yeah.
especially when you're gone for so many months.
Yeah, it's not so much just business, it's more family. outside of the business aspect of
Oh,
working,
that's great.
working under Erik.
I did mean to ask about in-ears as opposed to, when you guys switched to in-ears from having monitors on stage, and has it, how'd you adjust to that? I see you're not using any kind of like thumpers for the chair. You're
Right.
not using those to get the kick, to feel that same kick.
No.
So
I can see how once you have a kick thumper, it's hard to step away from it.
right.
It's just kind of one of those boutique extra things for
Mhm.
any drummer. It feels great, just getting that thump.
Yep. I don't think I've even tried one.
Do you want to try one?
That being said, if he does, we'll
No.
create a couple of those.
yeah, you're like, maybe he wants to try it.
No, and I actually don't even keep my own drums very loud in my mix. And it wasn't really that big of a change for me because I'm so used to being in the studio. So, to use headphones more or less was very, very natural for me. And so, obviously, with in-ears, they work as both headphones and earplugs. It was just like the perfect combination. And like I said, about this microphone earlier, the way to really have it feel more like you're not so isolated with each microphone being represented in my ears. Having this microphone really just opened up the idea that it sounds like one drum kit. So
Makes a huge difference.
And what do you
Huge
focus on in
difference
your
in
mix?
I have everything. I think I have maybe Steve Stevens and Billy slightly louder than everyone else because Steve will still give us a lot of cues. So going back to your earlier question of things in terms of arrangement changed during the show, there's a couple of different songs where, of course, Steve has a more extended solo and things like that, and so he will obviously give us some different cues musically, not visually,
Gotcha.
that we have to follow. So he's a little bit louder, but then I even have things panned in the stereo spectrum. So obviously where I'm sitting, the keyboards are slightly to the right, and everyone is kind of panned out visually the way I see them. So, but yeah, I basically wanted to sound like a record in my ears. So
And it does.
yeah,
It
it
sounds
really
great.
Yeah.
If he needs any changes during the live show, we'll use this talkback. This goes to Monitor World, to our monitor engineer, Taylor, and we'll just convey the message from Erik to me over to Monitor World and get that change done.
Yeah, I mean, once we have things dialed in, I mean, there's usually not a whole lot of changes that we have to address. It could be the occasional, you were asking about disasters that have happened, like the other night. This little part somehow came out, so all of a sudden I can only listen. I can only hear on one ear, and it takes a little bit of time to figure out what the hell is going on. So you have to run around and kind of get in there behind me and plug it in.
A little tricky during a live show when the lights and everything are going on. You're trying to find the little pinholes to get it in and
Yeah, that's a tough one.
push into his ear.
So, but yeah, other than that, I don't think we've had too many. I
No.
mean, there have been other disasters on stage,
I'm
not
sure,
pertaining to
Yeah.
us.
I'm sure you guys have to stay very calm in those moments. Though.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you don't want to have
Yeah.
have the shakes or something when you go up. Oh, God damn it! So for the song "Speed," Steve wanted me to come up with a short little drum intro while they're changing guitars, or maybe Billy is running off stage and changing clothes and whatnot. So he wanted it obviously in the same tempo of the song, and just wanted kind of like almost like a train beat, but also just kind of mess around with it with some fills and accents and stuff like that. So yeah, that's what we're doing. All right, so one of the classic songs, obviously, for Billy is Ice Without a Phase, which is always a fun song to play. And this one has kind of almost more of a classic R&B type groove, which is like a, 16th type groove. Almost like Georgie Porgy with Toto, obviously Jeff Porcaro, one of my favorites. And so with this song, we also have some drum loops and hand claps and stuff like that running in the back. So it's always crucial, obviously, to stick very, very closely to the click, because the drum loop and the hand claps are sort of counterpoints to the groove. So you really, really have to stay on the click. And it's a pretty relentless groove because you kind of need to have it almost like a machine, machine-like, but still make it swing. And so, yeah, that's one of the classic grooves. Basically it. It just goes up and down in dynamics, and of course the middle part gets a lot heavier. But yeah, pretty straightforward. A lot of these songs are just like pounding meat and potatoes, all the way through, and of course there's definitely dynamics and stuff. But yeah, you'll see there's probably a few songs in the set you haven't heard us play before, like Running from the Ghost, 100 Punks. Running from the Ghost is one that we recorded for the last record, which has a pretty relentless tribal tom groove that goes throughout the whole song. So. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Felipe here is asking if I could pass on some advice. One thing that's always stuck with me is what a lot of people have told me when I started out, which is to, musically and, of course, as a person too, just always try to be honest with yourself, stay true to yourself and your music, and more importantly, the reasons why you play. There's a lot of false tales that you could maybe chase around, which is, like money, fame, glamour, whatever it might be. But the love for the music is really what you should really chase and try to stick to as well. So.